Shalom, and welcome to Bible Stories as Blueprints of the Soul, your Biblical Hebrew podcast. Shalom and welcome to our Biblical Hebrew podcast. Today I would like to speak to you about the term Tohu Vavohu. The term Tohu Vavohu is mentioned in Genesis 1:2. Usually in a spoken language, when people refer to Tohu Vavohu, they mention chaos, disorder. But what is the perspective of the Zohar sages about the term Tohu Vavohu? Just a general remark. When I was looking for this term Tohu Vavohu in the Zohar search engine, I found at least 100 references to the term and to understand this term in an inner aspect. And what we shall do today is to discuss only one perspective from the 100, and there are more, much more. So now we shall read the paragraph which discuss this topic. Since it's a very, very complex speech, I will read it slowly and translate it, and then after translate it into English, I will go to the deeper layer of the conversation and its intention. So please, let's all of us be patient. It's a long voyage. Generally speaking, this is from Zohar Corrections, page 73, side. So let's read the sage's conversation. והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו, and the earth was unformed, so to speak. The English Bible says. Vavohu means void. But let's see how the sages are reading this term, because this is not external scene from a movie. It's an inner situation inside every one of us. So what the sages are asking in Aramaic, what mai והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו. What does it mean? And the earth was unformed and void inside of us. How does this term express itself inside of each and every one of us? And here they give an answer. Ela, but, man de'apik mirshut hayachid, a person who goes out from his sovereignty. In Hebrew, reshut hayachid, the authority of the one, lirshut harabim, to the authority of many, a person that goes out from his sovereignty mode between him and himself and suddenly has to negotiate with everything that surrounds him. This is the authority of the many. Garim lishchinta causes the Holy Spirit within him lemehevi tohu vavohu, to be in unformed way and void, and not just those two stages, but more. V'choshech, and darkness, v'tehum, and abyss. Again, ela man de'apik mirshut hayachid, but a person who goes out from his inner sovereignty, from his inner sovereign, to lirshut harabim, to the authority of the many, garim l'shchinta, causes the Holy Spirit within oneself. Lemehevi tohu vavohu, cause the Holy Spirit within oneself to become or to be unformed and void and in darkness and in abyss, because this is a natural cause of things. When a person in himself has thoughts and feelings, and this is an inner universe inside of oneself, and once we go out to the authority of the many, suddenly this inner world disappears because it has to go out to dress itself in an external dressing to fit the authority of the many. And this is what the sages are saying here. Leitlabshat be'inon klipin. It causes the Holy Spirit within oneself to dress in external shell. Because once we have to dress the inner, we go from this inner Garden of Eden inside of ourselves, the inner sovereign, we go out. And suddenly when the Holy Spirit goes out, it has, like a person who leaves his home, a person has to dress in different dressing. Those ideas and feelings that we have in universes that we have inside of us has to be dressed in external shell to address the external world or the authority of the many. So a person, and we have to take into consideration, each and every one of us, once we are going out to the world, to the authority of the many, we're living this inner Garden of Eden inside of ourselves. And when we address the world, we are already living in externality. And this externality has 4 faces. Once we go to the authority of the many, this stage engage with 4 faces, like 4 directions of the wind, because it's external. Here the sages are saying, it's not just that we are causing this inner thin Holy Spirit to dress up in external for exiles, but we have to take into consideration that it causes the continent, and here we are arriving to a much deeper understanding of what does it mean to live in the authority of the many. Here the sages are discussing the word Yabasha. Yabasha. Before we go to explain the rest of their thought, we have to focus in the word Yabasha. This time is a very, very complex conversation, but please let's keep the thread. Now we are moving to a new word, and we shall explaining just that we can connect those ideas back at the end of the conversation. The word Yabasha is mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 9. When the water are gathering into one place, and the land or the continent is being seen. Verse 9, and God said, Vayomer Elohim, Yikavu hamayim, mitachat hashamayim, el makom echad, vaterae hayabasha. And God said, let the water under the heaven be gathered together onto one place, and let the land appear. So here the word Yabasha comes out in one condition, or appears in one condition, when all the water are gathering into one place. As we mentioned before, the word water, mayim, are referring to the element of time in us. Once the water are being gathered, meaning we put the sense of time into one place. Then there is a land, Yabasha. Yabasha. Please listen. Yabasha. 4 letters. Yod, Bet, Shin, He. Yabasha. The value of the word Yabasha, land or continent, is 317. Again, 317. Yod is 10, Bet is 2, together they make 12. Shin is 300, together they make 312, plus Hey, which is 5, 317. Now, the value of Yabasha is 317, plus the 1, the source, is 318. Like the word siach in Hebrew, which means conversation. The value of the word siach, conversation in Hebrew, is 318. Meaning, and when all the water are gathering into one place, the bothering elements of time, tick, 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 television, radio, beeps, WhatsApp messages, emails, telephones, we put them aside. Then there is a ground, a land, a solid ground, of which conversation can take form. So far we explained the term Yabasha, land, just to build a solid ground for the rest of the idea here in Tikkunei Zohar, the corrections of the Zohar. Continue a former idea. The sages are saying that once we leave behind the inner sovereign and we go to the world, to the authority of the many, we cause the Holy Spirit inside of us live in different 4 dimensions of exiles. Tohu, which is unformed, Vavohu, which means void, Choshech, which means darkness, and Tehom, which means abyss. So this is the first stage of the conversation. Once we leave the sovereign, the inner sovereign in us, this is what we cause the Holy Spirit inside of us to stand in those 4 different exiles. And here, it's not just this. The sages are saying it's not just this. Something else happens. And in Aramaic, I shall read, Velo od, and not just this. Ela degarim la, and not just this, but it causes the Holy Spirit lemehevi yabasha tohu, meaning it causes the word Yabasha, the ground or the land, what we named before. When we see the word Yabasha, continent or land, is like we see the word siach in Hebrew, which is conversation. But a person who goes out from the inner sovereign is not just he stands or he addresses the 4 exiles. He is also causing the conversation within oneself to be unformed. Why? Because there's ongoing conversation between the infinite and us while we're in the situation of the Garden of Eden in us. This is why Carl Jung encouraged his students to spend more time with oneself, with the authority of the One. Once we go or we address the externalities aspects of our life, we're not just going to an exile, we're causing the Holy Spirit to live in exile, but we dry the element of this holy conversation inside of ourselves. Why? And here they say in Aramaic, Deistalkat nekuda, deistalkat nekuda, the dot, the spot. Deistalkat nekuda mechalal dile deihi, Bet. Ve'ishta'arat yevesha. The letter Bet in Hebrew, and now we're going to another deeper layer of the conversation. The letter Bet in Hebrew has two faces. Bet with a dot in it, spot, dot in it, and it can be pronounced like the letter B in English, the sound of boat, the sound of brave, the sound of bagel. But the letter Bet has another face. When we write the letter Bet without a dot inside of it, it sounds like the letter V in English. The word Yavesh or the word Yevesha, Yevesha, dry, dry, is written without the dot in the belly of the Bet. If there's no dot in the belly of the letter Bet, we read the letter as the sound of the letter V in English, Yevesha. So going back to the sage's idea, once we live the inner sovereign in us, is not just that we go into the exile, this is one thing, and we have to stand in front of these four faces of the world, four faces of time. We causing the dot inside of the Bet, which is living in the space of the letter Bet, to disappear, to rise up, and then there is dryness, meaning there is no conversation. We causing a change, a deformation in the spirit. There is no longer Yabasha, when the water are moving, and there is conversation, Yabasha, but there is only dryness, like desert, dry land with no conversation. And in this manner, the sages are seeing the dot in the space or in the belly of the letter Bet like a reflection of the Yod, the covenant between heaven and earth, the 10 element or the 1. If we don't count the 0 as a number, it's 1. So once we are taking the dot from the word Yabasha, which is parallel to conversation, we are taking the covenant, the taste of life, from the word Yabasha, which is conversation. We cause everything to be dry, meaning without conversation, without meaning. So this was our little conversation today about Tikkunei Zohar, the correction of the Zohar. I hope it was not too complex and we can still, all of us, follow those inner thoughts of the sages. Wishing you a beautiful day and wonderful year. Thank you for listening to Bible Stories as Blueprints of the Soul. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or would like to hear more about a certain topic, just write us an email to hebrew@learnoutlive.com. We are always happy to hear from you. For more episodes, videos, and articles like this, please visit our website at hebrew.learnoutlive.com. We also would like to invite you to join our live classes. Just search for Online College of Biblical Hebrew on Facebook and start learning now with students from all over the world. Koltuv and Shalom.